Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Every December, the world erupts into a flurry of festive cheer as homes are adorned with twinkling lights, decorated trees, and the fragrant scent of holiday meals fills the air. From the sound of carolers singing joyful tunes to the exchange of gifts wrapped in shiny paper, Christmas seems to radiate warmth, love, and goodwill. However, beneath the sparkling surface of this beloved holiday lies a far more complex history, one that is woven with ancient traditions, pagan rituals, and even violent origins. While many may see the Yule log as a symbol of warmth and coziness or mistletoe as a harmless excuse for stolen kisses, these customs have much darker roots. In fact, many of the most popular Christmas traditions today can be traced back to pre-Christian rituals, where they were tied to fertility rites, ancient gods, and even violent sacrifices. Far from the peaceful holiday we now know, the origins of Christmas are filled with forgotten stories of pagan deities, ritualistic practices, and beliefs about life, death, and rebirth. As we uncover these hidden histories, we begin to see that Christmas, as we know it, is a tapestry of borrowed traditions, reinterpreted practices, and remnants of cultures long past. It is a holiday with a history that is at once both dark and transformative, an evolution of practices that have been twisted, lost, and reimagined through the centuries. This article delves deep into the mysterious and sometimes unsettling origins of Christmas traditions, revealing the pagan and violent roots of customs such as the Yule log, mistletoe, and other symbols that have become synonymous with a modern holiday season. Christmas, at its core, is a celebration of rebirth and renewal. It occurs at the time of the winter solstice, when the longest night of the year gives way to the slow return of sunlight. This period of darkness and light has been imbued with symbolic meaning by various ancient cultures, particularly the Celts, Norse, and Romans. For these people, the winter solstice was a time of profound spiritual significance, marking the triumph of light over darkness, life over death. The roots of many Christmas customs can be traced back to these ancient pagan festivals. One of the most significant of these was the Roman festival of Saturnalia, held in honor of the god Saturn, the deity of agriculture, liberation, and wealth. Saturnalia was a time of revelry, where the usual social order was turned upside down. Slaves would be temporarily freed, and the rich would exchange gifts with the poor. The celebration involved feasting, drinking, and even acts of mischief, and it was during this time that people would decorate their homes with greenery such as holly and ivy, practices that would later influence Christmas decorations. But Saturnalia was not the only pagan festival influencing Christmas traditions. The Norse people, whose mythology is deeply intertwined with the modern holiday, celebrated the midwinter festival, known as Yule. The term Yule itself has become synonymous with Christmas, and many of the customs associated with Christmas, such as the Yule log and the Yule tree, have their origins in this ancient celebration. The Yule log, now a quaint and festive symbol of Christmas warmth, has a much darker and more profound origin. In pre-Christian Europe, the Yule log was an essential part of the winter solstice celebrations. The tradition involved selecting a large oak log, which would be ceremonially dragged into the home and set alight. The burning of the Yule log was not just for warmth. It was a symbolic act of ushering in the return of the sun, an attempt to coax the longed-for light out of the dark winter. The fire itself was considered sacred, representing the god of the sun. In Norse mythology, the sun was seen as a life-giving force, and the Yule log's flames were believed to harness this energy. The log would be carefully chosen, often from a sacred oak tree, and the ashes would be preserved to bring good luck for the coming year. In some variations of the tradition, the Yule log was burned for 12 days, symbolizing the 12 months of the year. However, the Yule log was not just a symbol of life and light. It also had its darker side. In some parts of Europe, it was believed that the log could ward off evil spirits and malevolent forces, particularly during the dark days of winter, when the forces of chaos and destruction were thought to be at their strongest. The ritual burning of the Yule log was, in a sense, a battle between light and darkness, a violent act against the forces of winter that threatened to engulf the world. The Yule log was also linked to fertility and agricultural cycles. In some cultures, the log would be anointed with wine or blood to ensure a good harvest the following year. The log's burning, which was often accompanied by the chanting of prayers or incantations, was seen as a sacrificial act that sought to appease the gods and secure the land's fertility. This connection to blood sacrifice underscores the violence inherent in many of these ancient rituals, a stark contrast to the peaceful image we now associate with Christmas. Mistletoe, one of the most beloved symbols of Christmas, has its origins in ancient pagan rituals, where it was revered as a sacred plant with powerful mystical properties. For the Druids, the mistletoe was considered a symbol of life and fertility. They believed that mistletoe, which often grew on oak trees, had magical properties that could heal the sick, ward off evil spirits, and even bring about good fortune. The plant's ability to remain green throughout the winter made it a symbol of eternal life, and its use in rituals was seen as a way to draw down the power of the gods. In Norse mythology, mistletoe played a pivotal role in the story of Balder, the god of light, who was killed by an arrow made of mistletoe. This tragic event, in which the gods sought vengeance for Balder's death, was deeply tied to the themes of death and rebirth, central to many pagan beliefs surrounding the winter solstice. In this context, mistletoe symbolized both life and death, making it a powerful and sacred plant. The modern custom of kissing beneath the mistletoe, however, is a far more recent development and has little to do with its ancient significance. The tradition of kissing beneath the mistletoe likely arose in the 18th century in England, where it became associated with romance and courtship. But even this seemingly innocent practice has its roots in ancient fertility rites. The idea of kissing under the mistletoe can be seen as a reminder of its original connection to fertility, with the act of kissing symbolizing a form of blessing or invocation of divine favor. The Christmas tree, now a ubiquitous symbol of Christmas cheer, also has its origins in ancient pagan rituals. In pre-Christian Europe, the tree was seen as a symbol of life, particularly the evergreen tree, which retained its foliage even during the harshest winters. The evergreen tree, with its ability to survive the winter, was revered as a symbol of immortality, of life continuing despite the encroaching darkness. The tradition of decorating a tree during the winter solstice can be traced back to ancient Egypt, where the palm tree was adorned with offerings during the festival of Ra, the sun god. Similarly, the ancient Romans would decorate trees with lights and ornaments during their winter festival, Saturnalia. In Germany, the custom of the Christmas tree began in the 16th century, where it was decorated with apples, candles, and other symbols of prosperity. Like the Yule log, the Christmas tree was a symbol of rebirth and renewal. In many cultures, the tree was associated with the gods, and its decoration was meant to honor these deities and invoke their blessings for the coming year. The use of lights on the Christmas tree, in particular, was a symbolic attempt to bring light into the darkness, mirroring the sun's return at the winter solstice. But the Christmas tree's origins are not entirely benign. The practice of cutting down a tree, bringing it into one's home, and decorating it can be seen as a form of ritualistic sacrifice, a symbolic act of appeasing the forces of nature and ensuring fertility and prosperity. This connection to death and rebirth is a common theme in many pagan rituals, where the act of cutting down a living tree symbolizes the destruction of the old year and the preparation for the new. As we trace the origins of Christmas traditions, it becomes clear that many of the customs we hold dear have deep and often unsettling connections to pagan rituals, violence, and sacrifice. The Yule log, mistletoe, and Christmas tree were all once sacred symbols of life, death, and rebirth, tied to ancient beliefs about the forces of nature, the gods, and the cycle of the seasons. While these traditions have been sanitized and reinterpreted over the centuries, they still carry with them the echoes of their violent and pagan past. Christmas, as we know it today, is a celebration of peace, love, and goodwill, but its origins remind us that even the most joyful of holidays can have dark and complicated histories. As we gather with our loved ones to celebrate the holiday season, it is worth remembering the ancient roots of these traditions, the rituals and beliefs that shape the customs we cherish today. In doing so, We gain a deeper understanding of the profound and often unsettling connections between life, death, and rebirth that lie at the heart of Christmas. And perhaps, just as the darkness of winter gives way to the return of the sun, we too can embrace the light of understanding that illuminates the true origins of our holiday traditions.